Hey guys, welcome back. Now in this video here, I kind of wanted to just show you guys one of the simplest ways that you can deal with this Wi-Fi radiation inside your home. And it's really the bare minimum that I tell just about all my clients to do. And it's simply just powering down your Wi-Fi router when you're not using it, or more specifically, when it is that you're sleeping. Now, when you're sleeping, I mean, this is a very vital time here that there's just so much happening inside your body. And if you are dealing with a chronic illness, I think this is really a time that we want to make sure that your environment is really clean from a lot of this electromagnetic radiation, because I mean, your body's going through this type of recovery and repair processes here, and we do not want to disturb them in any way. So in my opinion, I think it's vital that we really try and do the bare minimum by at least turning the Wi-Fi router off at nighttime. And in this video here, I want to kind of show you a quick way to automate that process. Now, if you look at the left-hand side of your screen here, I'm showing you kind of a couple different mechanical timers. Now, these timers, you can set them up in such a way that you can actually automatically turn your Wi-Fi router off and then turn it back on, like at any time during the day. And coming up in a few minutes, I'm going to go through the actual process on how to set this up in your own home. And it is very simple. Now, in this video here, the timer that I'm going to be using for this demo and some of the testing that I've done on this timer, it's this one that's shown here in the bottom left of your screen. And this one's just a basic Noma mechanical timer. And you can find it here at in Canada at Canadian Tire. And I mean, these timers come in all different, like there's lots of different makes out there, and they all work basically the same. So you can buy these at Home Depot, you can go to Lowe's, you can go to just about any hardware store. You can even get them on Amazon if you want to. But in this video here, I'm going to be demonstrating this Noma kind of timer here that's showing the left-hand portion of the screen. And in the video description, I'll give you the link. I'll give you a link to a few different options that you can choose from if you guys are interested in trying this in your own home. Now, when you actually do buy yourself a timer, now what I'm going to do here in this video is I'm going to go through the actual process on how to set this up, because this is really what a lot of my clients have been asking for, because it's not so simple. These things are kind of a little bit tricky to set up sometimes. So I'm hoping this video will kind of clear that up, and so you guys can all kind of do this in your own home. Okay guys, so I'm going to go ahead and show you how this thing works. Now, depending on what timer that you buy, they pretty much all operate on the same principle here. So there's really three key kind of features here about this timer, and I'm going to go ahead and show you each one of them. Now the first one is just looking at the very front of it. Now you can see we kind of have a circle here, and inside this circle we have a whole bunch of numbers. Now really what this is it's just showing you a clock. So what this will do is that it will allow you to turn the electricity on and off through this outlet here, depending on what time of day that you want to do that. So we're going to come back to this section in here in a minute. I'm going to show you exactly how to set this up. Now the second key feature here that I just kind of showed you is that there's an outlet on the side of it. Now this is the controlled outlet. So in the case for this video here, if you want to power down your router, your Wi-Fi router at nighttime while you're sleeping, this is the outlet here that you plug your Wi-Fi router into. Okay, very important. Now on the back of it here, you can see that there's a plug here. Now this is the actual plug here that plugs directly into the wall socket. Now the last feature here on this timer here, if I kind of just tilt this towards us, you can see we have here as a switch. Now this switch here, you can turn it to the right or you can turn it to the left. Now I have it here turned to the left, and on the left hand side you can see what it says is it says outlet on. So what will happen here if you have it set like this outlet here that's on the side of it, this outlet will be powered on all the time, 24 hours a day, regardless of how you have the timer set up here on the front. It does not matter. So what this is really opposite. It operates kind of like a bypass. So if you just want to use this outlet here normally without any timer control, this is really essentially what you would do here, is kind of switch this switch here to the left-hand side. Now if we go ahead and switch this to the right-hand side, you can see what it says here is it says timer on. So now what will happen is that this outlet here will be 100% fully controlled by how you set this up here on the front. So let's go ahead and do that now. So the first thing that we want to do here is you can see all around the side here, we have a whole bunch of switches. Now with these switches, what you can do is you can push them in or you can pull them out. Now what we want to do to start with is we want to make sure that all of these are pulled out towards the screen. Now the second thing that we want to do is you can see right in the center here is we have an arrow. And what it says is it says time now. So what we want to do is we want to set this timer up so that this arrow points to exactly what time it is right now for you. Now for me, as I'm recording this video, it's about 10:30 a.m. So I want to get this arrow to match up with 10:30 a.m. And then as you can see here, we've got kind of an outer ring that's kind of black, and we have an outer ring here that's in white. And really what this is it's showing you what's daylight and it's showing you what's nighttime to kind of make it a little bit easier for you. So what you do is you just kind of turn this dial, just like I'm doing right now. And we're going to turn it until it gets to about 10:30 a.m., which is probably right about there. As you can see, there's 10, there's 11, and then there's 12 p.m. So I've got it right between 10 and 11, which will be, pretty damn close to about 10:30. So this is really the second thing that we want to do. Now the last thing we want to do is we want to actually set this thing up to turn off at a certain time and then turn back on at a certain time. Now for my example here, what I'm going to do is I want to set this up so that my router turns off at 12 a.m. midnight, and then it's going to turn back on at about 8 a.m. So really what I'm going to do is I'm going to power this, I'm going to make sure that my router is powered down for about 8 hours. So really what we want to do is we want to find that 12 a.m. section here. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to kind of turn this a little bit so you can see better. Turn this upside down. So you can see here, there's 12 a.m. And then the next thing that we want to do is we want to find 8 a.m. So if we kind of just travel along here, you can see we get down here, we have 8. So this is the section right here from 12 a.m. to 8 a.m. that we want to have this timer turn the electricity off. Now the first thing that I told you to do is to make sure that all of these switches are facing you. So they're all popped upwards. Now what that will actually do is that when these switches are facing upwards, this is when the electricity turns off. So if we look at when we want to turn this router off at 12 a.m. and then turn back on at 8 a.m., that means this section between 12 and 8, all of these switches need to be facing upwards. They need to be pulled outwards. And that will allow the electricity to be turned off. And then when we want to turn it back on again, what we need to do is we need to press these switches in. So you can see here, there's 8 o'clock. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to start with this one right here. That's the first one that I'm going to push in. And then from 8 a.m., 9 a.m., 10 a.m., all the way up until 12 a.m. again, we want to make sure all these switches are pushed inwards. So I'm going to go ahead and do that now. So you can see there's 12 a.m. I've got all of these pushed in all the way up until 8 a.m. Now there's a few of them that I couldn't push in here. It's because I have the time of day set to 10:30, and it doesn't allow me to push those switches in when the time is set like that. So what I need to do is I'm going to have to turn this a little bit and then go ahead and push those ones in. So that's kind of the trick. And now what we need to do is I need to kind of set that back up again, back to 10:30 a.m. There's the arrow pointing right between 10 and 11 a.m. So now we have this timer set to the time of day. And by pushing these in, that means the section that's pushed in, this is when your Wi-Fi router will be powered on, this whole section here. Now the section here where all of these switches are popped upwards, this is the section where your router will be powered down. And you can see it begins at 12 a.m. and goes all the way to 8 a.m. And that's basically all there is to it. So the next thing that you would do is just take this timer here, plug it into the wall socket, and then go ahead and plug your Wi-Fi router into the side of it. And then let the timer do everything for you. Now there's just one more thing I kind of wanted to show you guys here before you go ahead and start using your timer. Now when you go ahead and plug your timer into the wall socket here, it is important to note here that there is a little bit of, they do generate a little bit of an electric field energy that's kind of radiating off them once you plug it into the wall. Now I'm going to go ahead and just kind of show you just how much it is that we're dealing with here. As you can see just below the receptacle here, I've got my my electric field meter. Now if I kind of zoom in here to the bottom, you can see it's pretty much showing you 0 right now. So this is just telling us that there's really no electric field energy that's being produced anywhere around this area right now. So what I'm going to go ahead and do is I'm going to go ahead and plug this timer into this socket, and we're going to see what kind of changes happen here. So you can see I've got it plugged into the wall. Now this is where, of course, you would plug your Wi-Fi router into. Now the actual setting that I have my electric field meter set to, just kind of zoom in and kind of show you guys. There's kind of there is a switch here on the left hand side here. You can't really see those numbers too well, but what it's set at is it's set at 50 hertz all the way up to 400 kilohertz. So what it's actually doing is it's measuring the electric field energy, and it's also measuring the electric field energy from all the dirty electricity that's being produced as well. Because this timer, one other thing to note on this timer is that it does generate a little bit of dirty electricity. Not a whole lot, but there is some. But this meter here is set to measure any of that electric field energy that could be radiating off into the space. Now just having the timer plugged into the wall here, I just want to kind of show you what my meter is doing. You can see it went from about 0 volts per meter up to about 10. But I just wanted to mention this, guys. I just wanted to kind of mention this to you because these things do generate a little bit of an electric field coming off them, and really it's important. The rule of thumb that I tell everybody is that, you know, try and maintain the best distance away from this thing as possible. And what I mean by that is just make sure that wherever you plug this timer into, just make sure that there's nobody sitting next to it. You know, there's no chairs, or you don't have a couch that's kind of in front of it, or maybe it's plugged behind your bed. Anything like that, just make sure you guys pay attention to that. And what I would suggest is just make sure you plug this into an outlet that, you know, where any human being doesn't spend a whole lot of time, so that you can maintain a distance away from these things, because they do generate a little bit of, you know, dirty EMF. So that's pretty much all there is to it, guys. This is a pretty simple unit to set up and really start using, because it's really effective in making sure that this wireless radiation kind of turns off at nighttime. You know, like I mentioned at the beginning of this video, it's important, I think, to make sure that we're sleeping in an environment that's free of this type of wireless radiation. And in the next video, we're now gonna look into the technology a little deeper, so you guys can see what's truly going on behind the scenes here. And yeah, on that note, I think I'm gonna bring this video to a close, and I thank you guys for watching.